Hey everyone, it's Vala here, and today I want to kind of talk about something that I think is very interesting, and honestly has made me a better player and overall just kind of a better person. I think a lot of people instantly flock to Valorant content and watching VODs and all of these other things, and always try to take things from this direct connection to what you're trying to get better at rather than sort of looking outside of the box and taking things from other experiences that you have and applying them to here and trying to find what universally works rather than what everyone is telling you to do. With that in mind, today I'm going to talk about two types of games that I think will help you play Valorant and give you lessons that need to be learned in order for you to succeed. So, the first one is the one that I think is most prominent to me. And the reason why is because it goes so far out of what Valorant is that it helps you really apply a much needed lesson that honestly you could take into life, but also just for playing the game you realistically need. And these types of games are Soulsborne games. So Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro. Yeah, that sounds crazy. How is playing Soulsborne games, Souls-like games in general, going to help you play Valorant? And the main thing that I think it helps you learn that you really need at the highest level is a sense of composure. This composure that I'm talking about is being able to, through this kind of never ending idea of like, oh, like I can't die, like whatever, being able to rise above that and make the correct decision. Sometimes in a Soulsborne game, you're going to realize the correct decision in the moment is going to be to dodge, to avoid an attack altogether. But in other moments, it is going to be to rise through it and take your opportunity and take your risk. If you play a Soulsborne game completely with kind of the idea of, oh, I'm never going to take damage and stuff like that, you can do that, but only the best players ever of all time. Realistically, when you're playing a game like this, you need to understand when it is right to take risks with kind of your own calculations. And in Valorant, it that speaks true exponentially, right? So, I'm going to break this down, right? When you're playing a Soulsborne game, you kind of have this idea that you need to avoid things to heal up and to keep yourself alive, right? The main goal, obviously, is to try to stay alive. It always kind of puts you on the back burner when you're fighting things because things are so chaotic and hectic and very punishing, right? And that's exactly what attack FPS is, right? If you die in a round, you are punishing your team. It is very important to stay alive. So, taking that concept, what you can apply in Valorant terms is you can apply to, hey, instead of just always when I see a guy, I just swing him and fight him, I can jiggle, right? Throw off a few shots and kind of just show my presence and be a little bit annoying and but not fully commit. I don't have to fully commit to a swing. If I fully commit to a swing, then I have to hit that swing. I have to know that's the correct time. And sometimes that's going to be it, right? You have that opening, you know you have the timing, you know you have the right moment, and you're going to take it, right? But if you're taking that too soon, right? Too early or too late, you're going to get punished for it, right? And you're going to die. And that's the same thing in Souls games, right? When you're attacking, you kind of get locked into that animation. And when you wide swing, you get locked into that swing, right? So playing a little bit less committal all the time is going to help you live a lot longer and also apply the right timings for your fights. You will notice that when you start to do this and you start to jiggle, right? You start to jump spot and you do these like small things, right? Where you're not fully committing to a fight, you'll realize the timings of when you commit to a fight. Let's say your backside on C on Haven, right? You jiggle the long guy, boom boom boom, throw a few shots, uncommit. Now, when your garage player runs out of the smoke, that's when you can fully commit to the fight. That's when you have your timing, blood in the water. They're they're looking at your teammate. They're not gonna have like this perfect, especially in like ranked, right? They're not gonna have this perfect idea of like, oh, I'm just gonna hold backside, you hold garage, right? That's not going to happen. You're going to take your timing and you're going to have that brief moment where you can punish them for being overzealous, right? And being over aggressive. Another thing that I think Soulsborne games teaches you is just kind of patience, right? Kind of keeping yourself calm under pressure. When a bunch of things are happening at once, you don't necessarily need to instantly speed up. You need to take a second to kind of understand what you're doing and how you're going to react to the situation, right? When you see a boss like going up in the air, right? And about to slam down, you're thinking to yourself, all right, so either I can like dodge roll this, I can jump it, right? I can run away from it, right? Like what exactly is this boss going to do? And what am I going to do after it, right? Obviously, if you take the thought process of like, oh, this boss is going to do a slam attack, I have to dodge it, right? If you don't have anything after that, you could be A, not prepared for the second slam, or B, you're kind of wasting an opening, right? You can jump and then boom, you can slap the guy and get some damage in. But you need to be ready to do that. You need to not always be on the defensive, right? You have to be ready to kind of throw a counter punch, for example, right? Kind of hit a nice little riposte. So you could say, right? So when someone is hitting you with utility and you know that you need to dodge the utility, you need to understand what you're doing after, right? So okay, they're going to throw an omen blind onto the bomb site. I'm going to dodge the omen blind. While I'm dodging the omen blind, I'm going to throw my piece of utility and then I'm going to swing into them because they're getting hit by my util, right? Things like that, right? Taking the next step of planning out exactly what you're going to do when something happens, right? If you are running into a bomb site, you're thinking, all right, so this is what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to run into the bomb site. I need to be aware of them flashing. If they flash, I'm going to tuck into cover on the left, right? Or I'm going to go super wide so they can't get an angle on me from where they're going to be like flashing from, right? Um, it's things of that nature that you really need to take into example and into an idea of being able to think through things. And I find myself doing this a lot where you autopilot. And when you autopilot in Souls games, it's super punishing, especially like Dark Souls, right? In Elden Ring, there's always a rest right in front of a boss. Or there's a State of America, right, where you can just continuously fight and fight and fight the boss. In Dark Souls, there's always a run back. So every run, I need to be on my game, fully locked in, thinking of like, all right, I'm gonna dodge this attack, I'm gonna hit him, and then they're gonna do the slam, I'm gonna jump the slam. After I jump the slam, he's gonna slam again, so I gotta jump that again, and then I get my opening, and things like that. And planning out these situations has helped me kind of apply that into Valorant. And instead of acting off of instinct, which most of the time, like my instinct is pretty good, now I'm acting on of just a concise of like plan of like, this is what I'm going to do. And I also just give myself that like second to like, just, what am I going to do? This is what I'm going to do. Got it. And not second guessing what I'm going to do. Because as soon as you second guess, as soon as you panic, it's out the window. If you can keep your composure, even in aiming, right? If you're like flicking all around the place trying to be super fast, you're not going to be as fast as the guy who takes his time and just one taps you, right? If you're going fast and spraying, well, the guy that you're spraying is just going to take his time and one tap you. You put 3 bullets into him, but he puts 1 in you and you die. So applying this patience and sort of calmness to your gameplay, your thought structure, how you aim, and how you go about playing the game is going to help you immensely. And I honestly recommend you guys play Dark Souls games. They're peak. But this mainly is just make sure you always try to stay calm, even in the most chaotic of situations, because once you start to panic, you have a higher likelihood of failing. But if you stay calm, you could still fail, but you have a higher percentage chance of just winning, right? Taking over the situation and being an insanely talented player and making a really good play, right? If you just stay calm and level-headed throughout a situation. Now, the next set of games that I want to talk about are specifically hero shooters. Valorant is a hero shooter, right? But I'm talking more so like Overwatch and Marvel Rivals. And this is not necessarily towards like a micro position as the last one was. This is more towards a macro kind of thought process, right? Of how to plan utility out. But basically, in those games, what you'll realize is there's a lot of like combos. There's a lot of like layering of like support alts, right? You pop one support alt, then you pop the next one. So you don't over layer, right? So basically, what I'm telling to you is don't overlap your utility, layer it, right? So stacking it onto each other. So it's a repeated sense of like, hey, if they are here, they are getting hit by utility no matter what, rather than sort of overlapping the utility. Now, some of this overlapping of utility can be kind of like, for example, if you are omen blinding like default on Haven on A, but you're also throwing a breach flash through it, you're not getting the same level of value. So instead, what you could do, right, is you could omen blind it, run up, and then as you're running up, you can either like throw a flashlight close so you can clear anyone who's kind of in an off angle or something, or you save the flash. So boom, once let's say you get caught up in the like choke, you fight a little bit, boom, 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 boom. Now they're not omen blind. You still have that flash. You can throw that flash again. So now if they're stuck there, even if they like put their feet on the ground and they're like, all right, I'm not leaving. Even if I get omen blinded, I'm just holding. Now you throw a breach flash straight through the box and then boom. You're not wasting the flash. You're keeping them just permanently affected by your utility. This can also be like pretty easily done to like post-fight situations, right? Making sure that you don't overlayer like Killjoy mollies, Teo missile, breach aftershock, stuff like that. Layering that up and making sure that you're just having just honestly just making the defense want to just die, right? Because if you're constantly keeping something on the bomb or keeping something affecting the bomb, let's say like a stun or a breach flash, Teo missile, Teo stun, drone, things like that is always going to be very important, right? Another thing is also like connecting utility together, right? So for example, instead of just throwing out a breach stun, say, hey, Sova, you drone, wherever your drone spots somebody, I'm going to throw my stun, right? A lot of people do this in like, hey, like if you're going to like for example, right, in Marvel Rivals, if I'm playing Mantis and my friend's playing Spider-Man, like, hey, if you're gonna go like, if you web someone and you're about to get a combo, let me know. I'll throw damage boost on you, so your combo will kill faster, right? Or like, hey, like I'm playing Magic, I'm gonna charge their backline. Okay, I'm gonna give you damage boost so you can kill them faster, right? Or like, hey, like I'm playing Swirl Girl, I'm gonna throw my like sustain, right? You can use like your Iron Man, like your pulse charge or whatever, things like that, right? Having utility kind of play connectiveness to each other and having like using a piece of utility to guarantee the value of something that is more hard hitting, right? There's a lot of value off of a Sova drone, right? But it doesn't really get like affect a gunfight at all, right? If you hear a Sova drone, you just swing and pretend the Sova drone doesn't exist. But if the Sova drone spots you and then all of a sudden you get a breach stun slapped directly on top of you, now you're screwed, right? So it's that kind of mindset of taking your utility and making sure that you kind of go for the maximum allotted time and effectiveness of that utility. Rather than just kind of throwing it off of no information, try to use the info that your teammates grab, right? Let's say your teammates kind of see someone, like let's say they run up a long, right? And they look and they see someone jump spotting default. That's when you just boom, breach stun, that guy's dead, right? Or like, hey, I'm going to save my stun for A. If they throw anything, let me know and I'll stun it, right? Your guy runs short, your long guy shoots a dart, gets broken, boom, that's when you slap the breach stun. So rather than just wasting that and not having it for other things, right? If you show them like, hey, like, if you show where you are, you're getting hit with my breach stun. That means they're going to be scared. That means you're going to get things for free, right? Kind of having this big macro idea, I think, is very important. Overall, the main lesson of this video is don't always allow Valorant to dictate how you play Valorant, right? Allow other things that you learn outside of the game, from different games, from life, and kind of apply them and see if they work. They're not always going to work, right? But sometimes they're going to stick and they're going to be valuable things in your arsenal as a player and overall differentiate you as a player and how you think about the game. Because Valorant is a game of infinite possibilities, which means that any way you view the game is the correct way. So don't worry about it, right? Have your vision of the game, have your identity, make you a standout player. So I'll see all of you guys later. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And yeah, good luck in ranked. Peace.